Hey guys, welcome to Walsham Weekly. This week I'm with Anthony Doe. He is a videographer and photographer from
Can-
Alberta something?
Canada, yeah.
Alberta, Canada, yeah?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
how did you get into this and how did this all start? Because it's a field that it's quite a creative thing and it's like quite a like sought after profession being a travel photographer, photographing at like doing photography at big events. Like it's something that a lot of people want to do. How'd you get into this?
Well, it was kind of a funny story. I never made a conscious decision to get into this industry. It just started as a result of traveling, and like most people, I started with a terrible camera. I had a GoPro 2, and I had a Canon T1i Rebel, and I didn't even know how to use the DSLR camera for most of my travels, and I filmed everything on my GoPro. I thought it was the best piece of technology in the entire world. And I remember traveling through like New Zealand, Australia, Costa Rica, and the Rocky Mountains in Canada, and I made all these like GoPro videos. And that's not where my career started. That's just where I started cutting videos together. And I think today that they were very terrible videos, but other people told me it was pretty good. But through that experience, I discovered that it was something I truly loved because the videos would take me hours to cut together. Like my first video I cut together was 7 minutes, and it took me like a full 20 hours to cut it together, and it was like probably the worst thing ever. It was like not color graded, there's no story, there's no effects, the music was awful, the audio was all over the place. And but that 20 hours went by straight. Like I sat in one spot, didn't blink, didn't even drink water. Like I just was in I was in a trance. And then when I finished editing and I was so proud of it, I was like, that was the easiest 20 hours of my entire life. And then that kind of just sat in the back of my mind. And then I just kept making videos and stuff like that. But I have a very obsessive personality with knowledge. So I was like, if I'm going to keep doing videos and photos, I kind of want to get better somehow. So I just kept pushing myself, putting myself around people that were in the industry, in the field, and asking questions. And the cool thing about the film and photography industry is that everyone's very open to sharing. Like if you get into it and people own a camera, they're like, oh, you should try this lens, or you should try this technique, or you should try this and that. And everyone's just it's very easy to grow in the community. So next thing I know, I'm taking okay photos and videos. And then my photography gave me the traction first. I posted some photos on Instagram, and they were getting reposted by Unilad and stuff like that. So before, like, I went from literally no audience to like photos getting thousands or tens of thousands views. And the funny part was they had posted like 3 or 4 photos of mine, and I didn't even know because they didn't tag me. Well, they did tag me, but I didn't get the notification. And when I realized it was like 3 months later, and I realized that so many people have liked and commented on my stuff. And then from there, it just kind of snowballed. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you like when you realized that they were posting it and then it was like gaining traction? Like, did you sort of click and you're like when did you sort of realize that this could be a career? Did you realize from the first time you sat down and did the huge session, or?
Okay, so it was never an idea that it could be a career until I wish I could say it was my original thought, but it was actually a good friend of mine. His name is Ben Burton, and he's app developer, but he has a very business mind, and he's a good friend, but he's also a big fan of mine. And at the time, he was a fan of what I thought was like nothing. He was like, "You're really good at what you do." I'm like, "I don't even know what I'm doing," but so what happened was he sent an email to a company in New Zealand while we were in Australia, and to like basically offer my services, which was basically nothing at the time. But what ended up happening was through that email, we got a gig in Queenstown, New Zealand, and they gave us a supercar. We asked for an Audi R8 from their garage, and in return we'd give them photos and videos. And we thought we'd never like get a yes, but they just emailed back like the next day, and they're like, "Yeah, sure." And we're like, "What? That's crazy." So we rock up there, and they just throw us the keys to the Audi R8, and then we got to spend the day in the Remarkables with the car, and we filmed and photographed, and I threw a piece together, and then they ended up really loving it. I think they knew that I was like a pretty new to the industry, but what I gave them they loved. And then after that experience, I was like, okay, maybe there is like something here. I'm just and then that made me want to even grow even faster. So after that experience,
Yeah.
I knew that it was possible to have a career in it. I just needed somebody else to kind of give me the push, and that was what my friend Ben did
Yeah.
for me. Yeah.
So like once he gave you that push and you because is that how you? Because I was looking on your website earlier and I noticed that you did that. I was looking at watching your video. I think it's called New Zealand Aston Martin Ice or something. I can't
Yeah.
remember the title, but is that how you transitioned into that? Because when I look at that, I look like is that an ad that could go on TV? Like,
Yeah.
because when I look at TV ads, it's like, how do you
Yeah.
get to that sort of level from just doing
So-
it from like a hobby?
Yeah, things escalated really well, and I think where it took a turn in, if you want to call it a career, is when it's turned from like for fun to making money out of it. Is my mentality never really changed. Like, so as soon after that experience, I started sending out emails to companies because my friend did it for me the first time and it worked. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe this can be like a thing. So I started thinking of like the most inspirational individuals and companies and events that I wanted to work with. And then I would just send them emails. I would just 2 paragraphs, too simple, just who I was, what I do, what fields I work in, and what they get out of it, because that's what everybody wants to hear out of a proposal, what they get out of it. And I would just send it out to like the most extravagant companies in the world, like that I like. So it would be like Aston Martin or Rolex or music festivals or fitness companies, people that I just want to align myself with. And they were all getting back to me. It doesn't mean they were all saying yes, but they like were all emailing me. And what I took away from that was people like reply. They just you just get the yes if you are a little bit better wording things. But so where it turned from a hobby to kind of a career was in February of this year, actually. So two months after I shot my first audio R8 promo video, 2 weeks later I shot my first wedding, and then a month later I got my first job with Aston Martin from just all emails. I was just
So
like,
just like a super huge month.
yeah, it was just
in that time.
and it's just been going month after month and up until even today. So it's happened very quickly. But I watched this TED talk, and it was called like the power of the power of rejection, I think. And it was this brilliant Chinese businessman, and he tells a really funny story about how he was like bullied and stuff, but and then how his fear of rejection just controlled his whole life, and then he ended up turning that into his greatest weapon, and he went on to start like many very successful businesses. But he starts off with like doing this project called 100 Days of Rejection. He goes out every day looking for rejection. And the first day he was so scared of it that the first day his goal was to ask somebody at work for $100, and to him that was like the end of the world. Like, it was so hard. And then he goes on to tell these funny stories day after day, and like as he progresses, they get harder and harder. But the end of it, what you take away from it is that like nobody asks for like anything, right? So like because most people assume it's gonna be a no, or they just like don't feel it's comfortable, or they don't. It's like a form of vulnerability that not people are comfortable with. And what I took away from that is just like, what's the harm in asking, right? Like, that's how I got my first job. That's how a lot of people get opportunities. But like, if you say no, that's a no. If it's a yes, that's an opportunity that never would have been created had you not put yourself out there. So that's kind of the mentality I took forward with the film and photography industry. I just asked. And
and like when it comes to pitching people, do you have any advice for like at that initial pitch trying to get that opportunity?
Yeah, I've done both sides. So just to touch base a little bit on like my background in education is that I came out of high school. I started going to school for software engineering. I loved it, but I hated it. Like I was really good at it. My grades were good, but it was too introverted for me. It was not. I couldn't stand programming for like 15 hours a day and the silence and stuff like that. So I switched over to business, and I wanted something more social, and I wanted something more moving, something more living, and business was great. So then from there I learned how to do all these like communication, like writing proposals and do interviews and whatever, all the things you do in business school. And it's funny because everything that I do now for my business, where I like send up proposals or I talk to clients, it's the complete opposite of everything I learned in school. It was literally, it's literally like all my proposals. Yes, yes, they are formal, but they're not like business formal. Like it's not like cover letter and like dear so and so double space and like it's not like that etiquette. It's literally like I state my name, I state what I do, I state like a project I recently did or a project that's relevant to them, and then I just tell them that I'm interested in collaborating with them, and then I keep it short. But like what my goal is at the beginning, that seems to be working. I haven't changed it from day one, which is crazy. But like it's to be kind of like I would talk to them how I would kind of talk to a friend, but not that informal. Do you know what I mean? Like I cut out the business lingo and stuff like that. I just keep it really light and very friendly because people want to know that they're kind of like talking to another person. It's not like a template that you literally sent out to 1,000 companies. It's like, wow, this person took the time to send me a very thought out proposal. And that's the feedback I get. I always get like, thanks for sending in your message or email or whatever. It's either like, sorry, now is not a good time for collaboration, or yes it is. But like whatever they say, it's always a thank you for taking the time to email me, because they know from my short proposal that I wrote it out personally to them. I didn't just write a blank template and sent it to every company and just changed up the names and stuff.
Do you find the bigger you get, do you find you get more, like, do you find a lot of people not like learn to know of you and then they sort of seek you out and find, but you sort of do you find business comes to you more now, or do you still find you are doing the seeking out?
I'm very fortunate. So going back to like the start of this conversation, I am very fortunate because I didn't choose to go into this industry, but I'm glad I'm in it. But because like a lot of people make the conscious decision to enter this industry because they're like they love it. Like if somebody loves to make videos or take photos, they'd be like, okay, I'm gonna try and make a living off of being a photographer. But they go through that like hungry artist stage. I've had the blessing of kind of not skipping it. I'm very hungry, don't get me wrong, but like it just happened organically for me. So I started on a fun note, and then next thing I know, I'm making money. So sorry, I'm blanking right now. What was your question? I was like
so when it comes to like, actually I want to touch on something else that I think is even more interesting. When it comes to travel photography, when it comes to like actually traveling and like that initial first thing where you travel to New Zealand, go to Queenstown, get the Audi and just go ham. Like how do you know, like when you made that decision to fly to New Zealand and do that, how did you know it was the right thing? Like how did you just think, oh, take the risk, see where it goes, or like how did you do that?
I just have a question before we continue, because I want you to I don't know if you want me to touch on one of these two notes about New Zealand, but the time I went to New Zealand for the Audi commercial, that was my second time there in like 6 months. The first time was a different time, like earlier, that kind of set the stage for everything else. Do you want me to talk about the time I went for the Audi commercial, or the time before the first time?
Let's go the first time. What happened there?
Okay, so
or the time that set the stage.
Because it kind of gives the whole grand scheme of kind of how everything happened, and I'll make it as quick as possible. It's like I told you a little bit about school. I went for programming, I went for business, and then when I was in business, I had a background I majored in finance, and then while I was in that program, I found my love for the stock market and investing and stuff like that. So I started investing in my own time. And I'm not a school person. Like that's not the way I'm wired. So when I was in school and I was investing, I was making enough money to live comfortably through the markets myself. So I put school on hold, and I was like, I'll come back to school if this like falls through. Fast forward 2 years later, I never go back to school, and I had my own investment company at age like 22, 23, and it was crazy. Like it was, I was working for myself. I was working off a laptop in my bed for 4 hours a day, making more money than people that would work 8-10 hours a day. And I thought I had figured it out, and I thought I had checked off all the boxes and everything was just gonna make me happy. But what ended up happening was, after 2 years of having my investment company, I sold it, and then there was kind of like a 2-3 month window there where I didn't know what I wanted to do, because I had
Yeah.
I just had no strings at all. So
Hmm.
it was, I kind of fell into like limbo. I just didn't know what to do, and the days kept passing
Yeah.
by, and then months started passing by, and then out of nowhere, I remember it clear as day. It was January 26th, 2016, and I was with a group of my friends, and it just kind of clicked, and then 3 days later, without me ever having any traveling in my life ever. I never traveled before this day. I've never been out overseas. I've never gone on an airplane or anything like that. 3 days later, I bought a one-way ticket to New Zealand with just a backpack, and I just landed by myself, never having done anything by myself for myself. And I was scared of everything. I was scared of heights. I've never been in the ocean. I've never been in a hostel. I've never gone on a bus by myself.
What?
I've never done anything in life. And I just left to New Zealand. And it was the scariest thing I've ever did. And it ended up being the best thing I ever did because I found a lot of answers. So then when I got to New Zealand, I walked out of the Auckland airport by myself. And I was just like, whoa, how did I get here? This is crazy. And I basically went to New Zealand to scare myself to death. I was there for a total of 4 weeks, and out of the 30 days, I did 22 adrenaline activities each day. Throughout the days. So I did like all the skydives, the bungee jumps, the blackwater rafting, whitewater rafting, the swimming. I literally did everything that I could think of that would scare me to death, and ended up being the best time of my life. Yeah. And so, when you ask me like how did I know it's kind of the right thing for all these decisions in my life, it's at the time I didn't know it then, but that like gut instinct was so overwhelming that I thought I kind of like gone a little bit insane. I was just like, I don't know what's going on, but this feels right. But at the time I was just like, I imagine it's how like somebody would feel like a singer about to go on stage and they've had like a career for a long time. You still get that nervous feeling that feels right just before you go on. Because like you should feel nervous whether you're doing it for 1 year or 20 years. You get nervous kind of doing the thing you love over and over. And I get this feeling with many different things. Like that time I decided I was just going to go to New Zealand. I was like, I'm so nervous. I'm so scared. This is the scariest thing I've ever done in my life. But something feels right. Same thing with like every other opportunity that happened after, like Australia after. And then getting all these jobs and making the conscious decision to invest my time and efforts and finances into the film and photography world. It was like these were massive decisions that were going to shape the rest of my life, but I never hesitated because I get this like overwhelming nervous gut feeling that this is the right decision. But I also have this like mentality that you make a decision, you stick to it, whether it's right or wrong. You grind it out, because I kind of grew up as a kid who just quit everything. Like I tried everything and I quit everything, and there was a certain point where I was just like, I have to stick something through, and there was a few things I stuck through with, but like with all those experiences, I was like, I should really stop being like a quitter or something. So I kind of went to the far end of the extreme. I was just like, I'm gonna stick everything through. So it's just a gut feeling.
That's crazy, because so you basically, I guess in a way, found financial freedom at 22, and you sort of knew this could work if I did this forever. But did that sort of not feel like, did you, getting pretty deep here, but did you sort of not feel fulfilled doing that? Were you just sort of
didn't. That's fun, but that's like, that's a great question. I didn't, because I don't know if anyone else can relate, or maybe but like I thought I had all the boxes checked off at a very young age. Like I had my own place. I had my cars. I had a long-term relationship. I had a career, and like a great lucrative career at that. And I was just like, this is it. Like I'm a small town kid, so I was like, I know everybody in my town, and I have a great social life, and everything is good. And I was just like, this is happiness. And then as time just kind of wore on and stuff like that, I was just like, why do I feel like I have nothing when I have all these things that people would fundamentally say they need to be happy? And then it took like I wish I could say like, oh, it just clicked and I left, but like it took like 3 months of just like doing mindless activities every day to kind of for it to really click. But I don't know, I don't really know how to explain it. it was a very extreme change, and anyone that knew me 2 years ago probably wouldn't recognize me today. Just I have a different mindset about everything. I
Yeah.
I am the one that definitely like leaps before I look now, and I was very cautious and scared before. I wasn't very adventurous, and I was very stable. I was very stationary in life. But now
Mm.
I literally live out of a suitcase. I'm on an airplane, a rental car, a hostel,
Yeah.
somewhere in a different city, different part of the world every week or month, and I love it. I never knew that side of me existed, but I wouldn't have any of it if it didn't start with film and photography, because it
Yeah.
showed me the side of myself that I love to adventure and meet people. People
Yeah.
make the whole experience for me.
That's absolutely like, so when it comes to like traveling, is
Yeah.
it a net gain or a net loss when doing travel photography? Like even when if you're doing jobs overseas, does it
Yep.
usually turn out as a net gain?
Yeah. I mean, yes, yeah. It's a net gain, yes. But like, I'm guessing a lot of people would wonder, like, did it always start off as like a profitable thing? But
Yeah.
for me, I realize I have a very fortunate start to my traveling career because of my investing background. Like I started traveling with a comfortable amount of money because of my last career, but the way I saw it is like every opportunity is scalable to how you can invest yourself. Like some people just see investing into things as in just what you spend. Like I don't. Let me put it this way. It's just like I had a scenario where I after leaving New Zealand and Australia, I had another opportunity to come back to Australia, and I don't think a lot of people would go back because they'd be like, well, it costs $1,000 or $2,000 to fly back. I already been there. Why would I do that? But it was for a different opportunity, a different thing. But the way I saw it was, this is an opportunity worth investing into again, because
Yeah.
it's gonna open more doors. And I don't think a lot of people see it that way. They just see like money has to be spent on something. What am I trying to say? It's like I gauge every opportunity to see how much more opportunity can grow from it. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
so when I think about like traveling to places like New Zealand, because I went to New Zealand so many times, I was like, who would go to New Zealand 4 or 5 times in the same year, right? Especially as a Canadian, that's literally $1,000 to $2,000 each trip. Why? And I didn't ever and but like this is how I saw it. It's like every time I go to New Zealand, I get so inspired. I have so much room to create content because you guys have one of the most, if not the most, aesthetic country in the entire world. I can work on my photography. I can work on my film. I can film things there, and I can make it look like I did it for like a travel. I would film things like I did it for a travel company. Do you know what I mean? Like I would.
Yeah.
Like what would I want to see to get inspired to get on a plane to New Zealand? I would film things with that mentality. And so like it wasn't just vacation or a trip for me. It was like I'm going here to do something. I'm going to walk away with like good photos. I want the best photos I can take and the best videos I can take. And it's not just like a keepsake. Well, it is, but I can also use it as a portfolio item. You know what I mean? Like I can be like, because like anyone that would watch a video I put together today from traveling, like I just got back from New York. I put a New York video together. I haven't posted it yet, but I would want people to think like, is this for his memory or is somebody paid him to put this together? Because like it's fun for me both. It's fun for me both because like I get to edit and I get to showcase New York, but at the same time it looks like I was paid to go out there to do it, which I was, but like you wouldn't know. I'm saying you shouldn't know the difference, or you should question it. If you question it, that's a win for me. Yeah.
So is that like the sort of like when you go and create a thing, is that the main, like when it comes to things like storytelling and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Is that one of the main things you focus on? You want to make the viewer question, is it a thing to remember this trip, or is it a thing to promote some product or something? Like to make them intrigued as to what not the point of it is, but what the goal of it is.
The goal for everything I do, which might sound weird, is to make it seem so captivating that like if I was to like it this much, then maybe somebody else would. So like how I take a photo and how I take a video or make videos is that like if this would inspire me to go do something, maybe it inspires somebody to do the same. If I can put myself in a position or make a video a certain way, maybe they can mentally put themselves in my spot and see themselves. Because the only way, well, the best way to inspire someone is to let them visualize themselves in that position, right? So when you take a photo, I don't take a lot of photos showing my face. Like I'll put myself in frame. If I don't have somebody, I prefer somebody to photograph somebody else. But I'll put myself in a frame, and I usually won't show my face unless I intend to. But like I do that because I want people to visualize what it looks like to stand on that mountaintop or in front of that lake or swimming in the ocean. I don't want them to be like, oh, that's a cool photo of him doing his thing. They'd be like, oh, that looks fun. Like I want to go do that type thing. So my mentality for most things in life, it is my mentality for most things in life is like optimization. I'm a very black and white, efficient, logical person. So like every opportunity I have to make the most of everything. If I'm going to take a photo, it has to be very well thought out. It's not just, I don't just go to these really well-known destinations to take the same photo as everybody else. That's my goal. Like I was in Hakka Falls, right?
Hookah Falls.
By Tapa.
Hookah Falls.
Is it called pronounced? Yeah.
But I think it's Hookah Falls.
Yeah, it's really famous, but it's like 2 hours from you or whatever, right? And it's beautiful. And literally tens of thousands of people pass through every day to take the same photo. And when I got there, I was just like, how can I possibly take a photo here that is different from the 10 other thousand photos taken right now? And I challenged myself, and I don't know how other people scale success in that moment, but I tried to take a photo so creative, and then a big New Zealand outlet ended up taking my photo and reposting it and sharing it, and it got a lot of exposure. But you just kind of have to try to, I don't know, it's easy to say make the most of every situation, but like what that looks like is it takes a lot of capacity, it takes a lot of stamina, and it's not easy. Like to think like if you were in the same room as 1,000 photographers, how would your photo stand out above everybody else? Same with video. It's like if you guys, it's all about story. Well, for me, my angle is it's always all about storytelling. If you're in the same room as 1,000 videographers and you guys all had the same pool of footage, how could you put something together to tell a story better than these other people? And it's a hard challenge to take on, but it's a fun challenge to take on because you can't really be wrong. I mean, like it's just your take. It's not wrong or right. It's just your take and his take. So optimization, that's my mentality. Just take the best photo you can, take the best video you can, and learn from it. Create, and then just learn, and then repeat. I think somebody else says that. Create, learn, repeat. I think that's like a company slogan, but like,
When did you always have that mentality of make the best thing you can at every situation and make the most of every moment? And have you always had that mentality, or did this just start when you were just like YOLO, let's go travel?
That's a good question because I didn't realize that recently until I had a conversation with one of my friends, and I was like, everything I had like an outspoken realization, and it was everything I've ever tried to do, I've always tried to be the best at it. And sometimes that's the worst because I didn't know the difference. Being younger, I didn't know the difference between being the greatest and being your greatest. And but that's probably why I quit so many things. The more I think about it, it makes so many sense. I was like, I quit so many things because I couldn't be the best at it. Like I was a very talented drawer. Like I could sketch and I could do a lot of artistic things as a young kid, but I wasn't the best. There was always this other kid that was so much better than me, and I hated it. And I quit because I wasn't the best. And if I just would have grown in that area to be the best I could have been, I would have still have a pen or a pencil in my hand. But it's the same thing with other things like sports and my education and other career facets. Like I have a very obsessive learning personality. So when I want to learn something, it is just that. I'm very black and white. When I say that, I mean like I'm very 0-100. Like there's no gray area or in between. Yeah. It's so when I do everything, that's like sorry?
Do you think that's like a huge factor of your success? Because just like sort of that going all in factor, no like tiptoeing onto the edge, like you just dive right in.
I think so. I think
go 100% with it.
I think that it doesn't work for everybody, but it definitely works for me because everything has to have weight. in my life. Everything has to have severity, like consequences, and it has to make sense to me. And
Yeah.
what yeah, like it keeps me hungry and it keeps me driven because I used to be somebody that could literally sleep an entire day. Like if you didn't wake me up, I could just go straight into a coma. And now it's like there are not enough hours in a day. Like I have to like pencil in sleep to continue, like to move on. People will always, anyone that loves me today, they're like, the first thing they say is, well, they say two things. Number one, where in the world are you? Number two, have you slept? Have you slept? And I was just like, and my answer is usually enough. But like, it's such a weird change to going from this day is so long to there's not enough hours in a day. And that's so great for me. But with everything, like, once again, the more I think about it, the more I've always been this way. I just never realized it. It's just like, I played basketball my whole life, and I wanted to be the best basketball player possible. When I went to school, I wanted to be the best student possible. I wanted to be the best programmer, the best businessman. And then when I started taking photos, it's not just I wanted to take photos. I wanted to take the best photo. And then it's other things like traveling. It's like, I'm not going to just travel. I'm not going to work 51 weeks of the year to get my 1 week vacation. I was like, I'm going to make travel my life. I'm going to make being a nomad my life. It's like all these things are 100, or I dropped it completely, right? And I'm the same way. I'm like a very minimalist person. Like when I used to own my own place, is like if something sat in my fridge or in my closet or on like a counter for like more than a week or two, I would throw it out. I don't care if it was like not expired or not useful. If I didn't wear a shirt for like 2 weeks, I'd throw it out. If there's an apple on my counter and I didn't touch it, I just threw it out. I was very like, everything has a purpose. And I know it's very extreme, but it keeps me, it lets me know everything in my life is important to me. And that includes my decisions. Because any thoughts and ideas that I don't...
So does it help you sort of realize, like, because I see a lot of people talking about, like, the majority of stuff doesn't matter, this little bunch of stuff does matter. Do you think, like, that sort of mentality helps you sort of actually live that, you know, that theory? Like, just think about the things that actually matter. Do you think, like, living that way does help you, you know, make that true?
I think that there is an in-between ground that people can be just as happy living in. What people should take away from what I've learned in that context is that I used to be a planner. Like I was structured. I think I thoroughly described how I used to be. I was just like stable. I needed to know what was going on. I knew what everything was coming towards me could look like. And now I don't even know where I'll be like 2 weeks from now. I don't even know. I just know opportunity. I'm always jumping out opportunities. But the difference between then and now is I'm not a planner anymore. I'm just prepared. And there's a difference to me. And there might not be some people, but like just because I don't know where I'm going to be in 2 weeks, a month, or 6 months from now, I'm prepared to be wherever. Like I have a suitcase full of different types of clothing for different climates because I don't know if I'm going to be in somewhere humid or I'm going to be somewhere cold. I have like different footwears. I have different camera equipment. I have different mentalities. But like I'm open to the unknown. It's just that I tried when this was all happening in the beginning when I was in New Zealand, Australia back in 2016. I still had that structured mindset where I was just like, okay, I'm going to try and do this, but then life would try and do something else. And I was just like, okay, why isn't it working? Why isn't it working? And then it wasn't until later I was just like, I have to learn to go with the flow. And what people should take away from everything that I have gone through or struggled with is that like adaptation, being the skill of adapting is so important if you want to live this way, because you're going to try and do something. Your life's going to try and go one direction, or you think your life should go one direction. But if you kind of just see the signs and see where opportunity takes you and everything, you'd be surprised how many wonderful things can happen. So I think just adapting is very important, and that's what traveling has taught me. So that really helped with my career, because I was just like, I'm just gonna stop. Sorry, go on.
Do you have any tips for like how to travel? Because even myself, I've never gone on like a travel. I've never gone traveling without my family or just like by myself. Do you have any tips for someone who wants to go traveling or thinks they maybe should, or like even a while ago I was thinking maybe I should go traveling to, I guess, enlighten myself, find myself, you know.
Would this
like,
be in the context of film photography with their skill, or just anybody?
Just in general, like traveling for a purpose, like traveling, I guess, to either like find yourself or like find who you are, or
Yes, I have a very strong stance on that topic, and I could talk for ages, but I'll keep it short. As I have always, I would, for 95% of my life, I was just a very uninspired. I did nothing for my. I was always with people. I was always scared to do things by myself, and today I could not be more of an advocate of traveling by yourself, because it's funny. I came back from traveling by myself, and people had these questions, which makes sense, but it was funny hearing it because I never thought of it that way. And the question was it lonely traveling by yourself? And then when I think back to it, I was just like, I wasn't by myself for any part of it unless I wanted to, because I don't know. Maybe, I guess that you could credit. I didn't know if I was outgoing or not outgoing before, but I had no problem meeting other travelers or other people when I was traveling by myself. I was never by myself. So, but the beauty of it is you get the best of both worlds. When you want to be with people, you can find other travelers. Travelers are a breed of people that all want the same thing. You want adventure and companionship and to share moments and experiences. And that's so great. And it's actually easier to find than most people would think. You just kind of have to put yourself out there a little bit. You kind of have to be like, you kind of have to further conversation than you want to, more than like the hi or like how are you. You kind of just have to like, where are you from? What do you do? You know what I mean? Like you kind of just have to further that conversation. But the best part of it is when you are feeling withdrawn and you just are tired and drained, you get the benefit of being by yourself. You go. No one's telling you to be anywhere, be anything or anyone. So you can just like walk off, have a day to yourself, have a week to yourself or whatever. And traveling, I mean, you learn so much about, like, everyone will say this, but you learn so much about yourself when you travel, because you're forced to make daily decisions that are difficult, and no one's gonna make it for you, and you're gonna mess up sometimes, but it's up to you to learn from it, or it's gonna be a pretty horrible experience. This is like, you need to know how to just be comfortable with yourself, be comfortable in your own skin. And it's like, I remember when I was before all this happened, I would never like go to a movie by myself or take myself out for dinner or all these things. It doesn't mean I didn't have any friends. It's just that like I wouldn't go out unless somebody came with me. And it basically came down to I wasn't willing to do the things that made me happy unless somebody was going to be there with me. And then this whole new ordeal has just taught me that it doesn't matter who's willing to come. If someone's willing to come or other people are willing to come, that's amazing. That's so good, because I love sharing my moments with people. But I'm just as happy doing it myself. So I think that anyone that's kind of hesitant or just skeptical about travel, I would say just go by yourself. Baby steps, like take a week by yourself somewhere. I did it extreme. I did a one-way ticket with no intentions of coming back. I did. But like, I mean, like there's moderation. Once again, I'm very black and white. But traveling by yourself, you will have fun. You will learn new things about yourself within the first hour of being by yourself, and it just keeps going. So I think if people want to travel, I would say be prepared, as in like research the countries you might want to go to, because you should probably know like their cultural etiquette and stuff like that, because I mean, some countries, it's just good to know those things. But also at the same time, don't be afraid to just dive in, like just book it and just go, and then I think that's the best way to do it, because I have this friend that I would always compare myself to now, where when they travel, they book every minute of that trip. They book their accommodation, their activities, how they're getting around, literally everything. And the only thing I would do is I would book the first couple nights of accommodation of the location I'm going to, just to know I have somewhere to sleep, because that's smart to me. And the rest is
basically, is that the only thing you plan?
Yeah, everything else is up in the air. It's just like, when I get there, I'll talk to the people. I'll ask what's good. It's like when I got to New Zealand, that's what somebody told me once upon a time. I was like, in the 2 days that I had before I left into the world, before my whole life changed, was I told like my mom, my sister, and my one friend. My one friend had traveled a lot, and he's like, and at that time I was just like, I want to like book stuff. I want to do stuff. And he's just like, don't. That'd be like the biggest mistake you do. Just go there and figure it out. And I was like, that doesn't sound fun. That sounds stressful. and what ended up happening was I got there, and I didn't know if I was gonna meet anybody. And I was just nervous. And then I got there, and people, especially New Zealand, because you guys have a great traveler culture over there. Everyone's got tons of backpackers. You got everybody of all adventurous walks of life. And when I got there, it was so easy to meet people. And then I got to just talk with people starting their travels the same time as me, people just finishing their travels, people that live there, and you just ask them what's good. Like, websites are like great, they tell you in depth what everything is, but like somebody that just did it like 2 days ago, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, they can tell you it was good. They can give you an inside scoop, and chances are it's a lot cheaper if you do it there instead of online, right? If you just book it in the country. But yeah, that's what I would have to say about that.
What about like when it comes to getting things done, like when you're working and when you're trying to, do photography and videography stuff? Because I see that you don't plan when you're traveling. What about when you're trying to work as hard as possible and get as much done as possible? Do you do planning at all, or do you do sort of productivity stuff, or do you just sort of go at the project and just smash everything out as it comes?
That's a really good question. This is something that I'm not still figuring out, but like I'm still figuring out what kind of routine I want to be more in.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is what I love about this industry is that like it allows you the freedom to do whatever, whenever, basically. And I really utilize that feature. So what I mean by that is I'll be on my laptop, I'll be editing away, whether it's like a travel video or a wedding video or whatever it is. And then my phone will ring, and they'll be like, hey, you want to meet up? Let's go for coffee. Let's go to a movie. Let's go hiking. Let's go do something, whatever, something fun. And I'll just shut my laptop and I'd go and I just work in my own time. I can do that. But like, if you do that enough times and don't leave any gaps in between, you won't get anything done. So there is like a very strong discipline in the industry where if you can't, I have to constantly remind myself, if I don't sit down and do the work, I can't continue doing what I want to do. And that's usually not a problem for me, because editing is one of my favorite things in the entire world. Same with filming. So I just have to remind myself to rest sometimes. That I would say resting is actually harder than actually doing work, because when I'm bored and I have time anyways, I still edit. Like, I'll pull up a photo and I still want to edit it, or I'll pull up some footage and I want to cut it together. So it's not hard for me. It's just balancing, of course, like everything else in life, is the most difficult part. I think it's just easy to forget that unless you do the work, you can't continue doing it. Because I've filmed weddings in many different cities and countries, and I have to be like, if I don't edit this video, I won't get more weddings. Like, it's just like, it's that simple. But it's not hard for me to get to the desk and edit, though. I love it.
Do you feel the same like passion for editing and for doing videography and photography, no matter what like job it is? Like, whether you're racing Aston Martins in the mountains, or whether you're filming a wedding or doing travel vlogs, does it all bring out the same kind of passion?
Yeah, I'm very fortunate to have started on projects I'm passionate about and to still be doing it, and nothing between those 2 points have been not passion projects for me. And that's because of going back to the proposals and the emails. It started off as sending proposals to a lot of things I'd be excited to work on, and then some of them turned into yeses, and then some of those yeses breeded and manifested more yeses and stuff. So it was like, so I'm fortunate to be in a position now where I can be selective about my work and the projects I take on. But this is always a common question regarding this topic, is that for weddings, is like, do people always ask me, do you film weddings because you want to, or you have to, or is it just lucrative? Or like, most people photograph and film weddings because it pays really well, and there's tons of it because the industry is a $1 billion industry. I will continue to do wedding work for like as long as my career goes. I think weddings are a very large passion for me. Like, I love being around weddings and filming weddings and stuff like that. And so I've been very passionate about every type of project so far. So I think I would I don't know. I haven't had a chance to encounter an opportunity that wouldn't be passionate for me. So I can't really
Yeah.
say how I would behave or how I would react to that opportunity. But as things are going right now, anyways, everything that's booked up for like the next year is extremely exciting, and I don't see how there could be room to take on projects that aren't passionate.
Yeah.
But I was, I don't know. I think going, I would always some like when I was first beginning out, just to change the topic for a split second, was that doing I was doing what it took to get where I wanted to be. I was setting up like the pillars to where I wanted to be today, basically. What that means is I was filming and photographing things for like very small prices or for free. And I'm one of those creatives that believe in working for free to get where you want to be eventually. Don't do it like forever. That's the worst decision. But like I was photographing like my first wedding I did for free, because why would I charge thousands of dollars for something I did not know what I was doing? It was a good opportunity to teach myself and do it properly. So I took that opportunity as I invested myself. It's not like I took the gear that I had. I literally watched every wedding video on the internet, and I looked up what I needed to do it, and I wanted to treat it like it was like a project that my life depended on. And once again, I was not getting paid for it, but like I knew that if this went well, it would maybe create some more wedding jobs. And then so it takes money, because I went to the store and I spent thousands of dollars on like a new laptop, a new camera, lenses, the audio equipment, and I had to teach myself to use it. But some people would just be like, no, that's just like a waste of money, or like they can't justify spending it. But like if you're serious about it, that is an initial investment to get where you want to be, right? It's the same thing with countries. It's just like, or getting somewhere. It's just like my range of opportunity is limitless. Like I'll go to any country if the opportunity seems like it's like a really good chance for me to grow. So yeah, I think yeah.
What about when it comes to like, because I don't know too much about the photography industry, but I assume that it's got a lot to do with like connections. Like I feel like the more jobs you do that you show that you're high quality, the people that see that job know that you know the kind of quality of work you do, and then that they become a connection, and then that helps you get more and more better jobs. Do you have any tips for like creating connections?
Yes. I think that's a very fun topic in the industry. As my stance on social media is a whole nother conversation, but I can say it is a very real tool. And what I mean by that is, I don't know. Everyone has a lot of mixed opinions about like Instagram and all this stuff, but I treat it as a business tool. Like I use it to showcase my portfolio and what I've done and stuff like that. But yeah, I do tell personal stories and stuff, but it allows you to connect it's crazy. It's just like we were talking before a little bit about Jesse Driftwood, right? Like he's the pioneer of Instagram stories. He's literally changed the game, and he's inspired hundreds of thousands of people to start creating 15-second stories that literally will be deleted the next day. Me included. And it's crazy that like somebody that is doing this, getting that kind of exposure, and good on him. He's amazing what he does. He was nice enough to reply to one of my messages, which is like literally like, "Hey, love this story you put up," or I don't remember what I said to him. He wouldn't either. He gets thousands. But like, what my point is, I messaged him and he simply replied. And then from that conversation, I got the opportunity to fly him to New York to help me on a different project. And I've met insanely other big social media people, photographers, filmmakers in the process too. So as much as I don't want to admit that there is weight to social media, it does work. It allows it's weird now to think that, I don't know, it always shocks me when people send me messages, but it's cool because I just want to pay it forward, because when somebody who's kind of a bit further down the road took the time to reply to me, I kind of wanted to, I love to do the same thing for other people. So it goes back to just simply asking, just putting yourself out there. Send a message, comment, send them an email, just be like, hey, I love your work, I'd love to, whatever it is, if you want to learn from them or work with them or just simply talk with them, just send a message. I mean, how did you and I get here, right? It was just like, it's super cool. I love it. So I think if you're just curious on connecting, you just got to put yourself out there. And I should say, don't put something so generic, like just "Hey, how are you?" That's very forgettable. As much as like that, like that's a very polite.
Yeah.
That's a very polite greeting. Yes, but like
Yeah.
I mean, like people should still know what you kind of want, as in like if you want to ask them a question or something like that, just make yourself stand out a little bit more. But yeah,
And sort of show like, because I find if I just try to talk to someone and say in like a very monotone way, it's going to get a monotone response. But if you're like,
Yeah.
wow, this is amazing, I love this, and then you sort of say your honest opinion about it, you get a way better
yeah,
response, and you get more just elevated emotions.
yeah, and you're very
What
good
about,
at that.
like, I'd like to touch on one thing that I think a lot of like people who do, I guess, is it called freelance work, or
Yeah,
creative work that you
yeah.
get contracts for. How do you talk about pricing, and how do you know what you're worth or what your job is worth?
Yeah, that's always been a really big conversation for me because I went from somebody who was just doing it for myself, having fun, and then like basically overnight having people email me and asking me, will I do it for them for they paid me to do it, which is like a really weird transition to make no money to being paid a premium, because I
Yeah.
wasn't I kind of skipped the middle part, I mean the beginning part there, because maybe it's because I didn't want to start charging people until I felt comfortable like I was giving a service worth their money, because I'm not really the type to accept money ever unless it's like feel like I've worked for it or like I've earned it in many ways. So let's see here. That was a really funny one. I'll tell a funny story where my first paid job was with Aston Martin, surprisingly. Like to put it how black and white it was overnight. One day I'd never been paid a dime for taking photos and videos, and then the next day I got a job with doing a project for Aston Martin, and I walk into the room and they ask me how much my services are, and I think I had thought about the topic, but I didn't have a number in my head. So this is how it goes. I get to New Zealand for the third time, and that was this year. This was in February. So February, New Zealand, and I'm in full blown like email mode. Like I'm emailing companies all over the world. So I love it. It's like a little piece of a lottery ticket for me. You just kind of send out an email and see what you get back. And it was crazy. I sent it through to Auckland, Aston Martin, and I didn't know, I can't remember exactly what I said, but they replied in 2 hours, and they said, "Hey Anthony, love your work. We are unleashing the Vanquish S model in 2 days. Do you want to be the videographer?" And up until that point, I've never done anything proper, like at all. Like I did that commercial, but I didn't get paid for the Audi promo. I just got my dream car and my friend's a really good day, and the wedding I didn't get paid for that, and then no jobs, no in the creative world, not paid until that point, and I was freaking out. I couldn't believe it. It was just like I loved Aston Martin my whole life, and now I get an opportunity. So I kind of have to I'm emailing with the GM back and forth, and then he's just like, "Sorry, I'm just like too busy for emails. Can you just come into the office and we'll talk?" I was like, "Oh my goodness, yes." So I run over to his office, and I have like my suit on, but like I kind of have to put on this like fake confidence almost to know like what like I have to be confident in what I'm doing. So I remember like just like parking out, and I turned off the car outside the building. I'm like, okay, I'm about to walk in, and I was like, okay, I have to walk in and I have to act like I know what I'm doing. So I just walked in the building, and I just walked straight through like everybody. I didn't even stop at the secretary's desk. I didn't even look at like the Rolls Royces, the Lamborghinis, the Aston Martins everywhere. I just walked straight through, and I just walked straight to his office. And then I sat down in his chair in his office, and he was a really nice guy, and he ended up just like he was already talking to me like I had the job. For some reason I thought like there was another screening process or something. So he's basically just like getting to know me a bit better, and then he's just like, "All right, so what's it gonna cost to get this done?" And I panicked in that moment. Like I didn't think of a number, but even if I did, I just totally blanked because I didn't want to say that too low or too high. So I just panicked and I just said a number. I just said like, for like what did I say? I said like I said like 2,500 for the day, which is a lot.
Yeah.
When you don't make money doing that ever. And I'm pretty sure that's still pretty high for, I don't know where it scales on, to be honest, because I never asked anybody else before. But like to me, that was like charging him $1 million basically. And I was just like, and I just said the number. And then he's like, great. And the way he said great, I was like, oh my God. Like, I just like left so much on the table. I think I just lowballed completely.
Do you ever think that you could have been like, oh, fuck, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000? Like,
yeah, I do. Because we're dealing with Aston Martin. Their cheapest car is like a six-figure number still, right? So, and they're a conglomerate. They literally breed the James Bonds of the world. And I was like, but in that moment, I didn't know any better. I had zero things to compare it to. So I was just like, what would be, like, put it this way, like, what else can you do that would pay you $2,500 a day, right? Like, that's, so I was just like,
there's very
so I
few
just panicked.
things.
Sorry?
There's like very few things that can do that. And like, what about now? When you go into negotiating now, do you feel like that experience helps you know what to say and sort of?
Yeah. It's funny because even today with all these jobs, I talk with companies and like we talk rates and like what's included and all this stuff. And I still not in a position, maybe other creatives can relate to this, but I still feel like I'm in a position where I don't know what's appropriate or what I'm worth. So I'm always shocked when they give me something like really nice. So like for what job was it? I can't remember what company it was, but we were talking about like what it would take for me to get out there to film for them. And and I knew that it was involved a flight. So I was just like, okay, maybe if I just push the price high enough, I can incorporate that and then I'll spend my money on the flights. And I was just like going through this all in my mind. And then after we said like my day rate, and then she was just like, okay, so what will you need on top of that? And I was like, I don't know what that means. I thought we were done with this conversation. And what she meant by that was like, okay, we need to cover your flights, your accommodation, your driving, your food expenses. And I was just like, these are all included? Are you serious? This is insane. But like, I didn't say it out loud, but I was just like, oh, this is probably just normal for anyone that they hire. But that's I just am not used to getting this sort of thing. So now it's weird to transition to, because the original goal was to travel full time, and now it's like I get to do these projects and then these companies kind of help me with that. So it kind of happened very quickly, but I'm very lucky to how things unfolded the way it did. And now I'm getting paid to travel to these countries that I want to go to do projects that I want to do. So I'm just trying to share the experience with everybody. So when I can bring some people along, or I can share it or teach somebody something, I love it. I think there's nothing more exciting than sharing the experience with people.
What about like, I think I'll just do 2 more questions and then I'll probably finish. But what is there anything now that still like makes you scared or still challenges you after all these things that are so out there and so like booking a one-way flight, getting just randomly getting keys to an Audi? Like, is there anything that still scares you?
That's a really good question. It's funny to think that everything that used to scare me, I'm basically living as a lifestyle right now. So it's definitely, I'm glad to say that fear can evolve in a great way.
Yeah.
That statement would probably scare a lot of people right there. But what would I consider? I don't think I have any tangible fears today. It's weird. It's weird to actually say that out loud. I think you just made me realize that I don't have anything tangible I'm scared of in life. I think everything I'm scared of, not everything, anything I'm scared of today is kind of like a mindset. Like in the month of October, just this past month here, before October, things had been moving so fast. I felt like life was going at like warp speed. And then I was like, okay, October, I have like 1 or 2 jobs, but like I'm not going to take any other bookings for October. And the reason why is because I want to just ground my feet for a bit, get some sleep, catch up on my work and stuff like that. And that was a good plan. That's a good decision. I have no regrets there. But with that came a very like still day-to-day life. And while it was necessary, it showed me that like in many ways I wasn't growing or challenging myself, and it was very difficult some days to. I kind of almost felt unmotivated. I wasn't fully unmotivated, but like some days it just felt like something was like I wasn't being the best version of myself that day, and that really like irked me the wrong way. So I think I would have to say not growing, like not doing something that would like push me to be better tomorrow, because like that's
Yeah.
as extreme as it sounds, that is my mentality.
Yeah.
I try to be better today than I was yesterday in some facet of my life. So being trapped in a sense in my own ways that wouldn't allow me to grow. I think another one would probably be this is a really good question. I wish I had more time to think about it. I think no, I can't really think of anything else right now. Not to say that I'm not scared of anything, but I see everything as I see everything as a challenge. So
Yeah.
I think that would
So
be
instead
more
of like a
word.
fear, you see it as if you get over the hump, then reward.
I think fear is a very good driving force in my life, and that's not a very popular opinion of fear for most people. But when I see it this way, if I realize I'm scared of something, that's a good thing, because I know what to take on next. Well, I don't like the idea of anything having control over my life. So when I know that this scares me, or that person or this experience scares me, I take it upon myself to face it as soon as possible, so that I know I can keep moving forward. So I don't know, since that whole initial crazy trip to New Zealand to physically scare myself, I kind of had this mindset that I was just like, anything that I can think of to be scared of, I'm gonna go and face it immediately. And I've done that for like the last 2 years. So I've conquered my fear of flight in the ocean, being by myself. I always have a fear of not succeeding. I think that's probably why. Like that's why I did everything I did with all my career moves and education moves. Like I just wanted to be the best I could, and I never want to be. I never want to feel trapped in my own life. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think I kind of understand you, because like that's probably one of my biggest fears as well, is becoming like not getting to the end of life and being like, oh fuck, I wasted my time. Like I've wasted 90 years. Like that's one of the biggest things that
absolutely
like, makes
that's
me,
it. You nailed it.
You know, shiver my boots. It's like it's just it's not something that I don't want to get to the end of life and be like, oh, I forgot. Like there's this one thing I was scared to do, and I thought people would judge me or something. Like I just never want to be in that situation.
Yeah,
I'll finish off with.
Yeah, go on. No, go on.
Well, I'll finish off with this. So,
yeah,
if someone wanted to get into videography, photography, even just being a travel vlogger, travel photographer, what advice would you give them to get them to start, or just show them that they can just start?
It would definitely just to go for film and photography, just to go and like literally do it so that you can do it again the next day. And what I mean by that is, if you want to be a photographer, go take a bad photo today so that you can go take a better photo tomorrow, because you're not just going to learn how to be a good photographer by like not doing it. You know what I mean? You can watch all the tutorials in the world, buy the nicest camera, but unless you go take that terrible overexposed photo of the sun and learn how to do it better tomorrow, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get better at it. And then once you get better at like exposure, then you can start learning about composition. And once you get better at composition, you can. It's endless, especially with film. Like I'm not saying photography is easier, but like there's a lot more facets to creating a finished product for film, right? So with video, it's a lot more challenging in terms of storytelling, and there's also music and audio and color grading, all these things. But it's a lot of work. But I mean, go do it, repeat it, and just learn from it. But also surround yourself by people who... You don't have to surround yourself by creatives to be a good creative. I think for myself, I surround myself with people that want to be the best version of themselves, whatever field they are in, whether they're like a singer or they're an accountant or they're a lawyer or a fellow photographer. Like I just people that want to be the best at their field. I got to be around that because that drive is contagious. That mentality is like something you walk away. You I'm sure everybody's walked away from like a conversation or a coffee with somebody where you're in a way better mood because their energy just like clinged onto you, right? I think that if everybody strived to be similar to that for everybody else, it would be a lot more drive in the world and a lot of good things would happen. But I think a lot of people get caught up in the fears of life to not go chase their dreams. They think it's like travel is impossible. And the reality about travel is you don't need tens of thousands to go. You literally just need the cost of a flight usually, and then just some. Because some people, I don't know, I think people expect that traveling costs a lot because you need to do it a certain way. But for me, I learned to prioritize it. Like it's like I don't need to stay in a 5-star hotel in every country I go to because if I just have somewhere to sleep, I can spend that money and time literally doing other things I love, being closer to the places I want to see, with the people I want to be with, doing the activities that I want to do. And like you just have to prioritize. So you just have to go do it, but you kind of just have to do a little preparation beforehand. But align yourself with people that have similar goals or have very driven goals within their own path in life.
So yeah, damn man, like I didn't expect that, like that kind of story. I thought you were gonna be like, oh, I started at a young age, you know, I started taking pictures, but it's like you started an investing company and then you sold it and then now you do this, and it's like
and it's all snowballed in like the last like 24 well my literal film career has been in the last 11 months now, so it's happened very quickly. And then 2 years ago I didn't even know how to turn on a camera, and then 3 years ago I had my investment company. So things happen quickly, but that's kind of how it goes when you kind of just want to grow like so every day, so quickly, project to project, day to day, hour to hour, conversation. You just want to be better. And I don't know, I hope anyone that's listening would be inspired to try that for themselves after.
Too right, man, because it's like I don't know, I hate when I see people, it like hurts me when I see people like saying, oh, I'd love to do this, but, and then they just don't do it. And it's like I think that mentality of just diving straight in is so good, because once you're in, you probably don't want to get out. So it's like
I think a lot of people's what's the worst that could happen answers are not very good. I mean I'm yet to hear some that are great, because like I don't know, if you were to ask somebody like why don't you go do that, why don't you go to your dream country, why don't you start your dream company, why don't you go blah blah blah, and they're just like, oh, I don't know. And then you say, well, what's the worst that could happen? And they would just say XYZ, and you'd be like, that's like do you hear yourself, like think about it a bit further than that. That's like scratch, like don't just stay on the surface layer. It's like some people would be like what would people say, like if you ask somebody why don't you go to your dream country, what would most people say? What do you think?
Probably just like, oh, what if this happens, what if I lose my luggage, what if this random disaster happens, what if I can't afford it and I come back and I'm broke.
And it's like to me when I hear that, I'm just like, so what? Like if you value the price of a trip on a sweater or a pair of shoes that you lost in a luggage or whatever, that sucks. But like how many times have you heard people's funny travel stories where like bad things have happened, and in the moment they thought it was the end of the world, but like afterwards it's a month later, they're at home, they're telling their family and friends, and it's just like, it's a great story. You're sharing a story that have made other people laugh and stuff like that, and that sweater gets replaced, that camera gets replaced or whatever. And I think for me, I could I try not to have a lot of possessions in life, because I think the experiences and the moments are more important, and it took a long time to kind of shape that mentality, but I'm glad I do, because I could get everything that I travel with stolen, and I would still I wouldn't feel like empty or anything like that. I would it would suck to start over, but like that's not the thing that like defines me, right? So I think when people make up an excuse, I think people should challenge themselves to think why that's an excuse in their life. Like I can't do this because of that. like just don't stop there. Like ask more questions. Why? That's what's really holding you back. Like what's the reason behind the reason why you're not doing it? Like people have a hard time being real with themselves, right? So
Yeah. I definitely find
yeah.
it's like, I don't know. I love when I see someone that like was scared of doing something and then they do it and they're like, oh my God, it's not actually like all these terrible things that I think are going to happen never happen. And
Yeah.
like one will happen and then you figure out like it's a problem which has a solution.
Mm-hmm.
And usually it's just relatively
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah, you just you just need those good people in your life to kind of constantly be your rock and remind you that life goes on and everything is it's either you win or you learn. I don't. That's the way I see it. I don't think there's a lot of losing situations. You just gotta you just gotta take something from everything, and with that mentality, life becomes a lot more enjoyable, but also it allows you to grow a lot quicker. So. These are all new mentalities and mindsets and things I've learned in the last couple of years. I would have said much different things if you would have asked me 2 or 3 years ago. But yeah.
I'd love it. I'd love for you 3 years ago and you now to meet and just have a conversation and be like, this happened.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
This all went on the last.
I would pay good money for that. That would be very entertaining to hear. I was the king of excuses before, and yeah.
What the heck? Oh my gosh.
I know.
But yeah, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on.